Oh, okay. So, do you want me to mention that or anything now?
Just makes it.
Wow. That's very important.
No, he was, I think the clicker maybe. He waved something at me.
Hello, Jane. How are you? Jane. But why not? That's right.
So, this is the table, so, the calendar? Oh, it's not.
No, that's just a discussion.
Approval. Gotcha. Okay, we are back in open session. The next item on the agenda is the financial report. I'll turn that over to Mrs. Baker.
We are showing a 5.73% increase over last year with a net fund balance of $30,463,250.11. In the operating funds, we're showing an increase of 2.12% with a net total of $25,581,219.71. Revenue we received in the operating funds, we received local revenue in the amount of $1,114,620. State revenue, $846,127, and federal revenue in the amount of $122,795. Those expenses over $5,000 are broke out separate, and the recommendation would be to reimburse the imprest account in the amount of $3,270.39, and the payment of bills in the amount of $1,131,987.25.
Does anyone have any questions about the financial report? Okay, there being none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the imprest account in the amount of $3,270.39 and the payment of bills in the amount of $1,131,987.25. Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Chad, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are regular board meeting minutes from January 12th and closed session minutes from January 12th. January 14th, HR and Athletics Committee meeting minutes, and then special board meeting minutes from February 11th, as well as closed session minutes in that report. The cafeteria report is enclosed in your packet. Student teacher list for next year, it is for this year. Most of those are short-term field practicum experience. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the high school and 1 at the junior high. For fundraisers, the EJHS Band and Choir is selling discount cards in the month of February. And then the field trip list is as follows. The EHS Winter Guard for a competition, not sure where. EHS History Club is going to the City Museum in St. Louis on March 13th. The fourth graders at Central to the St. Louis City Museum, March 25th and 26th, and the Southside second graders to the Terre Haute Children's Museum, March 25th and 26th. Does anyone have any questions about the consent agenda? There being none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Desha,
Second.
second by Erica, roll call.
Jill?
Yes?
Chad, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Under the Unit 40 Foundation report, there are two reports. One was January 12th, Monday, January 12th. At that one, they discussed results from and the success of the Santa breakfast. It was back in December. Ways to improve for the next year. Other business they had was the Shoemaker Orthodontics has donated money. I believe they donate that to several different organizations, and they have donated money to the foundation. They will be picking that up soon. And I did another nice note to bring up is the first annual Career Connections Day, which I do believe Laura Sullivan at the high school has created. We've been heavily involved in getting going on March 20th from 8 to noon. They're hoping that the foundation's hoping that there will be somebody from the foundation there to represent them at that. The second meeting was February, and that was the 9th. That one, talk about Shoemaker with the Dynasty and scholarships. They discussed scholarships there. The state that Kim Stanfield has resigned from the foundation board. Susie Cisna, published director, will now move to the third signature on the checks. Motion was taken for them to take care of that. We also discussed helping the drama department out with some teacher grants that were applied for back in October. So that is the foundation report. Any questions on that? Enrollment at this point right now, as of 1/31/26, enrollment is 2,304 students, 7 students more than the previous month, but 24 fewer students than the previous year. And again, I would try to emphasize the importance of understanding that our enrollment fluctuates a lot every year between opening day and the end of the school year. So as probably a lot of schools do, we do have several transit situations that get us moving around. So keep that in mind when we talk about our enrollment. Next one is the FOIA request. We did have 2 FOIA requests. One dealing with the general smart procure, asking about purchases, invoice numbers and things of that nature. And then the other one it says is that the same?
It's the background check.
Which one?
It's a background check on
Oh.
board members.
Background check on board members. I don't know if anybody's paid much attention or noticed, but there's been a circulation of this going out throughout the entire state. I'm not real sure what the purpose and rationale behind it is. I can tell you that at this point right now, we're in a position that it's not something that we've been advised to be a part of, because that is not something that the individual that's seeking that information has any business getting from us, and necessarily know whether we do or do not the background check. So, but that is something that has come across many school districts, and many school districts are seeking obviously legal advice to make sure we've taken care of that in a proper manner, and we have done the same. And then the next one is a presentation from Jessica Reeder and Talitha Weedman on some really neat information in regard to Southside. You've got the clicker. Let me see if I can get it back up there now, since I had to use that to get in the board book. Hopefully this is it. On there? All right, the floor is yours, ladies.
All right, we're ready. Okay,
So thank you for allowing us to come today. We have a lot to brag about that's happening at Southside. So we'll hop right in.
All right, so you're gonna notice a theme tonight. Hard work is at the core. Our staff and students have just done a tremendous job. So through all the success, just keep that in the back of your mind. Hard work has just really made this happen.
Okay, so we're gonna hop in first with our MAP data. So as you know, we test 3 times a year. So in the fall, right when we start school, and then we test in the winter when we come back from Christmas break. So we're back about a week and then we hop in and test right away. So all of our first graders and second graders take the test. They do take it within their classrooms. We have proctors that go around and help them get set up and ready to go. So this slide here is Southside as a whole. So it's first grade and second grade. And the target that we're looking for in the green area, that's considered tier 1. So that's where everybody receives that instruction. And the goal is shooting for 80% in both of those areas. So as you can see, we're doing great. Things are looking really, really good. And so, as I said, this is first and second grade combined. So let's split it up a little bit. So this is math. Just by itself. So as you can see, our first graders are at 88%, are at that tier 1 mark of where we want them to be. And our second graders are at over 90% of where we want them to be. So these are huge numbers, and Talitha will go into what that growth looks like. So we have that target of, yes, we do want them over that 80%, and 80% being in that tier 1 category. But our main goal is growth, because that every student can achieve growth. Our high achievers can see growth, but also our students who do struggle, students on track. So we really want to look at that growth component too, and what areas those are in. This is just for you guys to see. This is over time. So traditionally, our winter scores are pretty good. We do see a lot of growth from the fall to the winter. But what we really saw this year were in our subtest scores, which is what Talitha will cover here.
And that's where I get really excited. So this again goes back to that hard work and that teamwork of the staff just looking at our data that we get back and determining, what do we need to look at? Where is our core weak? What are some things that we can do and really try to hone in on some areas? So you'll notice from the fall to the winter, just great improvements. The one that really makes me excited is that number in operations there at the 90%. And part of why that makes me extra excited, not only is it a great level, but to get there, our staff really dove in and they implemented academic boot camp items, which means like more of those foundational lessons, getting those kids ready and prepared, and then giving them that solid foundation to build on. So that's just been really exciting to see that when we did implement that, it did make that difference. We will kind of take a look at the geometry. And again, that's where those teachers have really taken ownership of this, and they're exploring the why. Why is it at that 85? Why wasn't there the growth in that component? And for first grade, they recognized we're teaching the right things. We're just calling it different names. So really just exploring those reasons behind it. I'm just so proud of them for exploring all that.
And those conversations came about at some of our curriculum meetings. We saw what they were doing. They knew exactly what to do, but the vocabulary was different, and what the test was using and what our curriculum is using. And so that's important conversations to have of, they're learning these skills, but we have to be able to show it in all formats.
So second grade, very similar. So that number in operations, again, those teachers really dove in and explored place value and recognizing what does number actually mean, which I know that you can kind of see the 80% and the 71%. So this is where they know that the number in operations set the foundation. So once our students know those numbers and what it represents, then we can move over to that operations and algebraic thinking, where they apply adding, subtracting, diving into multiplication and division. So it's setting that foundation. For geometry, that's just the very last unit of the year. So they've not tackled that yet. So whenever it comes to implementation time, I feel like that number will increase. They also did look at the terminology and different things as well to make sure that they are setting that pace.
On to reading. So again, we're right at that 89% mark of achieving that tier 1 for both first grade and second grade, which for all 4 test scores to be in this range is a huge celebration. And as you can see, we started off the year well, but there has absolutely been growth that has been made throughout the school year. So again, this is just the overtime, just so you guys have it and you can see, but here's the meat and potatoes.
So again, we have our reading and writing committees that meet, and they took a look again at the data from the fall and determined, what are our action steps? What can we do? So we do have reading intervention block, which is one of my favorite parts of the day. It offers differentiation for all students. It is where students can visit our interventionists. We are also offering foundations as our tier 2 intervention. And that allows for like an ebb and flow between those tier 2 and tier 3 groupings as needed. And then our tier 1 is led by our gen ed teachers, but they also hone in on those foundational skills. Because what foundational skills are is breaking apart a word, sounding it out, setting it again, that foundation. So then they can go forth into those other components of the reading and writing. So they've just done a great job of exploring that and to see the impact from 74% to 94%. I felt like that was just amazing and just so proud of what they've done.
So now our direction has changed for our reading intervention time of we're doing really great in this area. So where do we need to focus now? Where can we beef up what we're doing in the core during that intervention time and hone in on one of these next skills?
So with that, you'll notice in second grade, again, they had growth. And then to take a look at that literature and informational text component, teachers recognized, okay, what's going on? How can we apply this a little more? So they're implementing what we call cold reads because they recognize our students can do the reading. They're so used to seeing it in play of text that they've encountered and read that whenever we have new text and we ask them to apply those skills, they're not as certain about it, which is the format of what they see on the MAP test. So they're going to start offering more of those types of options and instructions during that reading intervention block. So again, I attribute it to them going back, having those conversations at those curriculum meetings, and really moving it forward.
One other area we wanted to hit on as far as data goes. So our current designation system, we found out in, I think, October, that for Southside, we received a commendable rating, which is fantastic. In that system, that's pretty much as high as what we could go. There wasn't really any room for growth for us, just the way that it was based and how they scored everything. But as a state, they are going through an accountability redesign. So there are now, prior to this, there were 4 categories. Now they are looking at 5 categories as far as where schools fall in those rankings. And so the top level is what all schools are rated on. So obviously we don't have graduation rate, but proficiency and growth. And the way we do not have state testing at Southside, it does not happen until 3rd grade. So all of our scores are based on 3rd grade testing. So this is coming from this year's 4th graders. So last year's 3rd graders when they took the IAR test. And then the bottom level, those components go in as kind of bonus scores. So you receive a score in each of those and they can bump you up. So the great news is that we moved from commendable to exemplary, which is huge because there was something we thought that was never, ever possible. for Southside to do. So with the same test scores, just this new accountability system and how they're looking at it, we do have a way of moving up. And so within the system, we didn't only move up one spot, we moved up 2 whole categories to exemplary. The little bit of scary news with it is we're only based on one set of test scores. So 1 grade level, where every other school has a mix of that. So it can be kind of a roller coaster every year from the way that it sounds. But we will take this. It is huge. It's a huge feather in the cap to the staff and the students at Southside and the work that has gone into this for something that we never thought would have been possible. So we did a lot of celebrating for that.
So again, Southside really, really has put in a lot of hard work, staff and students both. So the next section is all about, we have thrown a lot of change at them over the last few years. They've stuck with us. They've really, really worked hard. So we're going to share with you kind of the how that we got to some of those amazing growth scores.
So in the 23-24 school year, so that was my first school year here, that's when we implemented the 2 administrators. It was kind of that, many of you were here during those discussions, it was kind of that question of, is this a 2 administrator building? We have made a ton of growth since we've been able to implement that. The other things that we've implemented that year were MAP incentives. So these kids are working hard. For a 1st and 2nd grader to sit and take a test for 45 minutes, that's a big deal. And we want them to show us their very best effort. So we've implemented some MAP incentives. So in the fall, we have down here, DJ Jax comes and we have a picnic and we have a DJ out on the playground for lunch. And then in the winter, we have the MAP games. So it's kind of winter theme games that we play around the school. And then we also implemented our family engagement night. We wanted to get families in the school, not just for parent-teacher conferences and the standard. Let's get in and let's have some fun. So this next slide, we knew a lot happened in the 24-25 school year, but actually typing it out and putting it on a slide, it really did make us pause a little bit and wow, a lot happened. So this was, we kept with 2 administrators, but we did put it on the slide because it's the 2 of us now. So that was a change from the year before.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, we implemented academic boot camp where we set foundational lessons and really gave those students like that fresh start back to the year, getting them into the flow socially and academically.
We started having book club, and it has been one of the most fun things that we have done in the school. I personally enjoy book club immensely. We've averaged 15 to 25 staff members, depending on the book. We typically do one in September, October, and November. We take off December, and then January, February, March, and then kind of based on interest, if we want to do it in April. And then we did do one in June and July this past summer too. So we go to a local place, usually Joe Sippers, and we get coffee and we sit and talk about the books. And it's just been some really great discussion along with getting to know each other on a more personal level too. So just building that camaraderie. But we've had some really great books. We've done educational books. We've also thrown in a few fun books here and there that are just some light reading, which has been cool to get some different staff members to join us.
All right. We also implemented a school-wide discipline system to get everybody on the same page, where teacher-managed warning slips are being used, and then school-wide conduct notices. So we really looked at basic common terms and how would we respond, and understanding what does this look like to you? Where would this fall? So that it's aligned. A big piece of a lot of this is that alignment and those deep conversations, getting everybody on the same page. And I know that she's presented before on our numbers, and it's made an impact. We're able to log, are we meeting the mark? Do we need to intervene differently? Are there things that we're doing that are working? Are there areas that we need to reconsider and add more support? That kind of those items.
So the two of us, our philosophy, we are a team. We're doing things together. So we have an 8-week team meeting rotation. So it's typically on Mondays after school. And you can see all of them listed there. Our focus team is like our building leadership team. Math, you can read all of them there. But we do have that 8-week rotation. It is voluntary to be on those teams with the exception of the new staff support team. That's anybody who's been in the building less than 3 years. It's just to get acclimated, make sure they have that time to answer those questions. We strategically plan those meetings for like before parent teacher conferences and just making sure they're comfortable with those different times of the year. The special education team and the paraprofessional team. If you're in those departments, you're automatically on the team. So we do meet most of the time, most of the groups we meet 4 times a year. Focus team and new staff support team, we meet 5 times a year.
The next one is one of my favorites. Along with the MAP incentives that she spoke about, we implemented goal setting with the students. And they look at our MAP assessments as, how did I grow? How did I do? And they get so excited to come and tell you, I grew by 5 points. I grew by 20 points. Just to see the thrill of their achievement and their buy-in of like what I can do. Look what we were able to do together. So Mrs. Talbert goes around and has her little stuffed animal cart that she celebrates with our kiddos who really do grow the most. And so they're all like, is the teddy bear lady, stuffy lady coming? So it's been a lot of fun to watch that with the kiddos.
And you hear them talking about it like in the bus line as they're walking down the hall. Oh, well, how many did you grow? It's just for such little kids to hear them set that goal and to be proud of it and talk about it is a cool thing. We revamped our master schedule going into the 24-25 school year. We were able to keep it the same for this year, so that was nice to not have that giant change coming in again. But go ahead with the next one. That plays right into the master schedule.
So last year, we started with our morning meeting time, which is our common time SEL from 8:15 to 8:45. We're using our everyday speech curriculum for that. And it's just a good time to start with a family check-in every morning. And along with that, the bucket filler reward parties kind of go in conjunction with all of our morning meeting and SEL time because they're earning bucket fillers as they go through. And how you do that is like being a good citizen and showing respect, showing that you can be courteous, different things like that. And so as a class, they have a goal to get 25 bucket fillers each week to get to their reward. So it's a communal kind of everybody teams together, everybody works for the common good.
We also put in place what we called Parent Help Nights. So HELP is an acronym. So the first night was homeschool support. So how can we be on the same team? And even getting on the same page of like Seesaw, how do you use that? How do you use Infinite Campus? All of those kind of things. The ELA, it's more than reading. So how do you help your student with their reading homework? L, learn about math, same thing. And then P, parenting support. So it's kind of how we use some of our systems at school, how you can transition that to home and use that same vocabulary.
For reading intervention block, you heard a little bit about it already. That's just a part of our day where we have blocks of 4 classes that have the same common time for this. And we differentiate that learning for those students and we meet them where they're at, where some students are still working on those phonetic devices that they're working through of foundations and making it that multi-sensory item, whereas others are working on deeper inquiry, comprehension, and they're going in and researching different items. So it's a time of day where students are really met with the items that they need to continue down their learning path.
We have started doing staff signing day, kind of like athletes, do your signing. And it's just a way to solidify that team approach, that we are those people that we want to work with. And, we're making that pledge to our teammates each year. So we did that last year and this year.
And then the final component up there is staff training, and that includes all staff, even cafeteria, like lunch monitors. They came in, they're part of our team. So we implemented all of that to go over expectations. They also got to sit and listen about what reading intervention block is, so that they all have this common understanding of what does the whole school day look like? What does the ebb and flow actually consist of? So it was very much a team-oriented item.
So after that full year, we move into this year. We thought we're not going to make that many changes, and then we asked for Southside Mobile. So we did add a little change onto this year.
One of the items though that I just loved was they had summer training opportunities where the teachers could come in, get some PD, and have some time just to have deep conversations with alignment and understanding through curriculum mapping. We provided curriculum maps that said, here's your assessment, but how do we get from point A to point B? What does that look and feel like? How does it align to the standard? What does our core curriculum offer? Not only on this page, but when you go onto their online resource library, it is deep and there is a lot there. So just having that time to have those conversations and to look into those items was huge, because there was a greater understanding of, well, here's where first grade stops, and here's where second grade picks up, and there's a gap. How do we fill that? So that was very, very powerful. And then one other item that we did to kind of help with that alignment, we actually have every curricular item and supply itemized in the spreadsheet, cataloged, so that they know exactly what they have available to them. They can check it out. There's a whole system that is in play. So it's definitely a process, and they have plenty of resources.
We did make a change to our 8-week meeting rotation. Morning meeting was established. We didn't need to keep meeting on that. So we took morning meeting out and we added a group called the fundamentals. And so that is more of, instead of it being office driven for all of our incentives and fun things we do, more staff driven. And then, like I said, Southside Mobile is up and running, and it has been such a huge asset to have everybody on one campus. I mean, just the not only the kids, but the staff, just seeing everyone together and the collaboration and being able to run down the hallway and ask a question. And that part has been really cool to see in action.
So this is more just our curricular timeline, where you can see our pilot started sooner in math than it did in reading, which is nice because we had that layering effect. You can kind of see from top to bottom how, as we got our feet under us, we kept adding items that help support and intervene and continue to make us better and better. Where it's larger interventions, such as adding that math interventionist, down to those consistent articulation meetings that happen at the weekly level. And they do articulate at those first and second grade team meetings. Well, I see this in our standard, this is what we're supposed to be teaching, but how are you teaching it? Which has been amazing to see. Just sharing the wealth of knowledge across the teams has been tremendous. Same thing in reading, where we started with a pilot, then we started implementing the foundations and fast words to really look at, are we meeting the mark? What do our students need? How can we help intervene and best meet them? And then again, continuing to get better and better at what we do, and continuing to have those articulation meetings to make sure that we're not missing something and that we're continuing to learn from each other, seeing what's out there.
As you can see from the last several slides, there has been a lot of change over the last few years. When you're living it every day, it seems like it's been going on for a while, but when we actually sat down to type this up, it hasn't been that long. And we are definitely not at that maintenance phase yet of where we are. It's still very much boots on the ground, and we're meeting all the time, and how are we still tweaking what we're doing. So that is our goal for the future, is to keep going, to keep moving forward, but to get to that maintenance phase and sustainability, instead of that kind of still a little bit in flux all the time. So these are just kind of our opinions on some reasons for the improvement. I think the biggest thing that we have seen just in our little time is the amount of trust in our building amongst the adults is really incredible to see how that has grown. Just as a whole, it's not like one particular area with each other, it's amongst the whole building. And it really comes from those conversations and that open dialogue, and it's happening in a multitude of areas. It's the teacher's lounge at lunch, and it's those weekly meetings, the grade level team meetings, but it's also the rotation meetings of being able to talk through. But it's having both of us too, because we're there. There's more of a chance that one of us is available to answer a question. It's not 100%, and it never will be 100%, but there is that chance to be able to answer a question in a more timely manner.
And the bottom two kind of go together, just having that mindset shift of what a conversation can look and feel like. And instead of just saying we're meeting to meet, really diving in and getting the most out of it, learning from each other, really exploring what standards are we meeting, where do we need to make improvements, where are we exceeding, and why. So just that deeper level of meaning and conversation has taken place.
So what's next? So for next year, we, as part of our 8-week meeting rotation, we are adding a behavior team. So this is for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's a staff request. Absolutely. It was a staff member's idea to say, I think we can combine 2 of these teams to open up a section for this. And I think it's something that our school needs. It also goes hand in hand with where we're going with the behavior portion of MTSS, just for everyone to be more on the same page. So we will be adding that for next year.
The next one, curriculum alignment, we're getting there. We've started having those conversations, just continuing to do those things and have those conversations so we can build that common vocabulary across grades. And then building capacity amongst teachers, and that also kind of goes to that evaluation rubric. We're really looking at, we ask our students to try new things and to keep bettering their craft. We're also, stretching our staff too, and exploring that evaluation rubric of like, what's next? What will be the next step over? How do we get better? What are some things you can try? And they're doing it. It's been exciting to watch. So just continuing to try, continuing to grow their confidence.
And then finally, just revamping academic boot camp. Our March SIP day, this is what is on the schedule for first and second grade teachers. And it's really, now that we're a lot more into the curriculum, we've had these conversations, there's those pieces of, I really wish we could hone in on this a little bit more right there at the beginning of the year before we jump into the curriculum. So getting that all ready to go, we want to sign, sealed, and delivered to them before they leave for this year. So it's not something they're having to worry about over the summer or, when they come back in the fall. So as you guys can see, Southside students and staff have definitely put in the work. We've stated these changes have only taken place over a 3-year span, which is a lot of change to happen in not even 3 years yet. But like I said earlier, our true goal for the next several years is to tweak the current systems as our students' needs change. So that's what's nice about what we have in place. We really are able to take the data from the MAP testing and see what our students' needs are and tweak the systems for them, not putting the students into what our systems are, and get to that maintenance and stability phase. So those are our goals for the future.
Questions?
Yeah.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
I love your passion. Wow, thank you so much. I mean, I think that, I think our students and our staff appreciate your hard work also.
It's easy to be passionate about what's happening in that building. They really are very incredible, students and staff alike. And makes it fun to go to work every day.
Yeah. Congratulations on your math scores.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for bringing fun to education.
Well, thank
I mean,
you.
I think the kids really get into it. It makes a difference.
We do.
Yeah. You want high energy, come on. Give us a visit.
I think that should hit the nail on the head right there, that when you walk in the front door of that building today, it's fun. And we want school to be fun at every level, and they're really doing it at a high level in that building. Not that we're not doing it at a high level in other buildings, but tonight we're talking about this building. So I appreciate what the two of them do, they continue to do. They care at the highest level about every single student. Obviously, I can't share all of those pieces because there's very many confidential pieces that there are kids that need a lot of help, and these two and their staff go to work for them on a daily basis. And there's kids that are excelling at high levels that don't need quite as much attention. And you see that at obviously a very high level in that building too. So it's really exciting for me as superintendent in the short period of time that I've been here to see what's going on in that building as well. So thank you very much for what you're doing and your staff. Because you're right, it's not just we administrators that are getting it done. It's the folks that are on the ground level getting it done for us every single day. So thanks, and pass that back along
Yes.
to your staff.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can tell, they've been kind of under the weather too a little bit. So I appreciate when this was originally set up, it wasn't going to be a 7:30 presentation. So sorry about that as well.
Okay, we move right along on the agenda to new business. The first item on new business is discussion about Core Academy and the financial partnership with them. We are going to look to table that to the March meeting. So if there is no objection from the board, could I get a motion in a second or do we just table it?
No, go ahead and vote.
We need a
Go-
motion in a
Motion
second.
second to table it. And there'll be more information to come. I just don't have that from the Core Academy at this point.
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Brandon, roll call.
Chad, yes. Discussion?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the school calendar for 26-27. There's just a discussion time. I guess I'll just turn it over
Yeah.
to you.
Real
and then we'll
quick.
take that we'll approve at the March meeting.
Right. We'll bring an official or a final one back to you. At this point right now, it's in the ECTA leadership's hands, as well as the EESPA leadership hands, and all of our directors for the school district and administrators. I've had very few comments, but I have had a few comments and suggestions to it. This was just an original draft. If you take a look at it, it is projecting us to potentially start on the 10th and 11th with teachers and staff, and students would come on the 12th. Everybody seems to think every time I turn around, you keep getting earlier and earlier. It seems a little bit that way, but we go the same number of school days every single year. It doesn't matter where we start or where we finish. I particularly like to start earlier and finish earlier. And so I designed it that way. But there's a lot of input that goes into this that between now and March board meeting, there will be some changes potentially to it. But at this point right now, this is kind of where we're sitting. More important dates to remember are, obviously, everybody wants to know when we start. Everybody wants to know how much time we're going to take at Christmas. Right now, we're projected to take 2 weeks again. That was very, 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 very well received this past year and highly recommended from anybody and everybody that I've talked to, even though they weren't involved in the calendar decision making. And then the end of the year, of course, is scheduled right now if there were no snow days, which that typically does not happen in this part of the country. But if it were to happen one year, such as next year, there's an outside shot that the students would be finished on a half day on the 13th of May, and the teachers would come in on the 14th. As you can see in the red blocks on this, if we have snow, every time we have a snow day, you take a red block away and you put a day on there and you go a day longer. Okay? The only other piece that I would mention in here is that we are projecting or proposing to go to only 3 full SIP days for next year. This year we had 5. Part of the rationale behind that is we felt, and I think we have accomplished, and we are still accomplishing, the intent to get all teachers, custodians, bus drivers, so on and so forth, everybody in the district trained, dealing with behavior, dealing with maybe translation of ESL students that can't speak English, and various things of that nature. And we feel like next year we could potentially cut back to only 3 days of professional development training instead of 5 that we had this year. So I don't know if there's any comments, questions, anything else you want to know. We'll have this and we'll be working on it for the next month, and we'll bring it to you in March.
Does the state require a certain number of SIP days?
I don't think you have to take any, but there's a limit to how many. We could go 5 full like we did this
Because we
past year.
changed from half day.
We have a waiver.
Did away with half days because it was quite a disruption to families and just didn't feel like you're getting your bang for your buck on the shortened days for our staffing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of Glass and Shuffit to perform the FY26 audit. They are the group that does our audit every year. Is there anything that you need to add to that, Andy or Kelsey?
Nope, we want to keep them.
We're fortunate. Auditors
Yeah,
are
no,
hard to
you
find.
don't want to switch. They're hard to find, and there's school districts that can't find them.
Right.
So, kids, accounting.
Absolutely.
You're
It's a
needed.
needed area.
You're needed in accounting. Annually, the BOE approves the auditor, Glass and Shuffit, to complete the FY26 audit. That includes an A133 and a GATA audit. Multiple employees spend multiple days in the district to complete this requirement. There is a letter in your board packet. Is there any question? There being none, I'm looking for a motion in a second to approve Glass and Shuffit to complete the district's FY26 audit at a cost not to exceed $35,000.
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Chad, roll call.
Beth, yes. Sasha.
Yes.
Brandon. Yes. Erica.
Yes.
Jill.
Yes. Next on the agenda is the agreement with ROE number 3 for alternative education.
This is just an annual update. We do this every year, just because they need official documentation stating that we're going to utilize them again.
They must approve the agreements, which we will sign off on this evening. Unit 40 then is able to utilize TriStar and Inspire, which is TriStar is a junior high aspect and Inspire is for high school. Any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the 2026-27 intergovernmental agreement with ROE number 3 for alternative education programs.
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Brandon, roll call.
Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad?
Next on the agenda is an item that we would also like to table to the March board meeting. And it's related to the summer bridge program that was started with ESSER funds. But we want to move from summer bridge to, it's not that we wouldn't have a program, but we would move it to the 21st century grant program. Any questions?
I would just add that that's some things that I've got to work through some details with, obviously our union, our unions, and what that looks like to do away with that current program and roll those opportunities into the summer program. Again, I thought we would have it ready tonight, and we don't have all those pieces done yet, so we will come back and work with that.
So I would need a motion and a second to table this item.
Motion.
Motion by Chad, second by Erica, roll call.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
And then we need to amend the calendar because of the 2 emergency days that we've used. So is there any, we use those days on the January 26th and 27th. So can you give the,
You want me to show, I can actually show the calendar
maybe
for
what,
25,
where does
26.
that make us land in May?
Calendar.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Anybody like art? After watching me build a calendar, you're like, he really enjoyed art when he was younger, didn't he? No, they represent different things, so
So that puts
At
us
this
to
point-
the 19th. We
18th.
would go to school on the 18th.
18th would be Teachers Institute.
Oh, gotcha, never mind, sorry.
Students' last day would be the 15th.
Okay.
If there are no more emergency days.
Right.
It's a little early to call it, so I'm not gonna jinx us. If you were outside today, you'd think we could start baseball tomorrow and softball and all the spring sports, but
Okay,
that changes between now and then.
so could I get a motion and a second to amend the 25-26 school calendar to reflect the use of 2 emergency days thus far on January 26th and 27th?
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Desha, roll call.
Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the personnel list, and I just need a motion and a second to approve the personnel list as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Brandon, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is student disciplinary action. I just need a motion and a second to approve the resolution authorizing student disciplinary action for student 2026-11.
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Erica, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the administrative and director contracts and salaries. Is there any questions regarding that? I just need a motion and a second to approve the administrators and directors contracts / salaries as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Chad, roll call.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. And then the last item on the agenda is a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Brandon, roll call.
Chad? Yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon? Yes. Erica?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. And that is everything. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.